welcome to another video conversations on Awaz-e-Haqiqat, which also translates to the voice of truth. I'm your host, Chris Malika Bhadra, and today or tonight, depending on whichever part of the world you're watching us from, I'm going to be discussing a very important topic that does not get discussed that much, that is men's health and the awareness around men's health. And I'm joined by two very important guests. But before I introduce them, I would like to start this episode or the conversation by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which I'm meeting them today. I'm meeting from the land of the Kulin Nation. And I would also like to extend my respect to the elders, past, present, and emerging. So a little short story how I met Vik Bhandari, the gentleman who he's sitting on the screen. I came across a post on Facebook which says a ball, men's health awareness ball, and I was drawn to it. And then I emailed Vik and back and forth messaging. Vik and Bhavisha were very kind to have me on the ball, and this whole ball was raised with the intent of raising awareness around men's health. I'll get them to talk more about that later, but a little bit of intro about my guest. Vik Bhandari is a London-born chartered accountant who moved from the UK to Australia via a 2-year stay in Barbados in 2003, and then he was aged 35. For the last 15 years, Vik has been the managing director and partner and co-owner of Financial Reporting Specialists, FRS. FRS compiles financial statements for clients listed in large corporates. Vik has a wealth of experience and technical expertise spanning over 30 years in the audit and accountancy field, having worked on for 3 separate continents as well. Prior to joining FRS, Vik was an executive director at EY, which is Ernst Young. Vik is a lecturer, author, and now with his wife, Bhavisha. Hi, Bhavisha, I see you on the screen as well.
Hi.
They are an advocate for men's health. So again, he's joined with Bhavisha here, who is an office manager at a school and also a justice of the peace. A very good evening, both of you. How are you doing?
Very well, thank you. Thanks for asking.
Nice. Thank you for having me. The pleasure and the honor is all mine. All right, I'll get into the conversation. Vik, what I'll do is I have a few questions for both of you. I'll ask it alternately. For example, if I ask the first question to Vik, Bhavisha, I'll come to you later with the second one. Vik, the first question that I have for you is that why did you get into talking about men's health? That is, what was your driver behind kind of starting this conversation?
Well, it all started back in 2009 when my father had a stroke. And as you said in the introduction, I was London-born, so I came to Australia. So one of the things you always dread is that dreaded phone call in the middle of the night saying that one of your parents or a family member has had an accident. For me, I had a call which said my dad had had a stroke and you need to come to London quickly. Now that 24-hour journey, the quickest flight I could get to London, you're sitting on a plane. In those days, there was no internet or Wi-Fi that you can actually make contact. You get on the plane and you go. And I did not know what to expect on the other side when I got to London. When I got to London, got to the hospital, did what I could do, help my dad. What had actually happened is he got up in the middle of the night, he actually had a stroke, and he's paralyzed on the left side downwards. And I was in London for about 4 weeks and communicating back and forth with Bhavisha as well about what was going on and Dad's prognosis, or what actually was the issue and how he would recover. And the signs weren't that good. They said that he should, with rehab, he'd be able to recover, but he wasn't. He was a fit, healthy individual who actually then became effectively paralyzed from one side down and disabled, just like that. And when we got back to Australia, I was sitting there and I was just didn't know what was going on, just stressful. And we spoke and we got in touch with our doctor and asked the doctor, what was the issue?
Was this preventable?
Was it preventable? And she said, yes, it was. If only we took some steps. And I'm sure Bhavisha will go through the steps which we come up with. So we actually said, so this was a family matter, and we found out it was my father's condition, which is he had his father and his brother all had the same condition, which was high cholesterol. And if he had his cholesterol in check, he would not have had a stroke. The cholesterol would not have chipped off. He wouldn't have had something go to his brain, and he would still be fit and healthy today. So we felt that if it was that easy, why don't we get the message out there? Why don't we actually set something up and talk to some people? And I just went out to a few people and said, I'm thinking of doing something to raise awareness, maybe a ball or maybe something small and simple. And they said, no, do a ball. And we were thinking we may raise $10,000 and we may have 50, 100 people talking about men's health
Mm.
in a room. I think our first year, which was actually by the time we got off the ground in 2016, we had 186 guests, over 20 volunteers, and we raised over $34,000 in the process for men's health charities.
Beautiful. Thanks, Vik. Bhavisha, over to you. Same question, but if you want to add on to something other than what Vik mentioned, what got you into talking about men's health?
Well, look, you know, leading on from Vik's father, it wasn't just a sole case of just his father. It was my father, my uncle, you know, who had a heart attack. I mean, he was a dentist, so a medical professional, but, you know, had a massive heart attack and died in the surgery at 57. So you're thinking, 57, this really shouldn't happen.
Right.
You know, it's preventable. And why are men not getting checked up? What is the reason? I certainly didn't want that to happen to my husband. You know, I wanted him to be here for me, for my children, and so forth. So we were like, okay, obviously, you know, women go out and see doctors quite a lot, you know, for whatever, for contraception, for their children, for breast exams. They're in the doctor's surgery all the time. I couldn't get my husband to go and get a checkup. He just wouldn't, you know, it's not a thing that's done. So really it was, how do we get men in the men's surgery as well, so that they can have regular checkups? And that was where the stimulus was from.
Really, thank you. It's very, very relevant that I think this has two points of the story, that as women, we need to be equally supportive, and somewhere we need to let the men know that it's okay to open up. It's okay to be vulnerable. There's a saying in Hindi, I'm not sure if you guys are aware, it says, "Mard ko dard nahi hota." I think that's absolutely bull. It says men can't feel pain. And I think that's absolutely bull crap, because we put such stigma on the man that even if they want, they can't open up. So thank you, Bhavisha, for that support.
You were saying also in the past, I've been in the corporate world, and why I spoke about being at Ernst Young is you're so fixated on work and getting work done that even when you're ill, you just go, oh, I'll get it done, I'll sort it out, it'll be another day. So Bhavisha would say, have you gone to see the doctor yet? You're sniffling, you've got a cold, you're not well. Why you? And I'd just say, I've got another meeting, and I'll put it off for another day. And then she'll go, well, why don't you come back and go to the doctor locally? I said, oh, I'll just go to any clinic. It's easy. And that's the mistake we make as men. We just think that we're invincible, and we think if something goes wrong, we'll just turn up to any clinic, and they will sort us out. But it's not quite like that. You need a regular checkup. You need certain things. So we came up with a number of bullet points for the ball. So what was the message? When we said that we wanted to do a ball, what was the message of the ball? How can we make it very simple?
So we came up with the message that we wanted to give at the ball, and we wanted it to be really simple. I mean, shall I go?
Yeah, you go.
Okay. So look, first of all, it was, you know, get a regular annual checkup. Go and visit your doctor once a year. It's just once. It's not a lot. And then when you're at the doctor's, try and understand your numbers. So know what your blood pressure is. Get a blood test so you know what your cholesterol levels are. You know, you can also get PSA tests now, you know, for prostate, and know what those numbers are. And so, you know, when you go back next year, you'll know, has it gone up? Has it gone down? Is it good? You know, do I need to do? So you've got a baseline. So that's really important. Also, what was really important was know your family history. So what we discovered was, yes, you know, Vik's dad had high cholesterol. Well, does Vik have high cholesterol? Yes, he does. How come? Because it's a family history. So now we can get that tested. And once we did that, his brother has got high cholesterol. So, you know, they're on statins now already. So that was the idea of knowing your family history. The other really important factor was go to a regular GP. Know one GP, because your GP, when you walk in going, you know, Vik, you're not looking the same as you were last year. Is something up? What's up? Your doctor will get to know you, as opposed to going to any clinic. And then importantly, the other point was, if there is something wrong, go and get it seen to straight away. look, I know you've got an important meeting, but hey, you can reschedule the meeting, you can reschedule anything, go and get that tested. So go and get it seen to. And, you know, and finally, it was just sort of like, be aware of the risks at your age group. You know, in your 20s, you'll have something, in your 30s, 40s, 50s. There's different things that you need to be aware of at each age group. And simply that's it. Just get yourself to a doctor once a year. That's all we ask, really.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the idea is to live a longer, healthier life with your loved
With your
ones.
loved ones. Yeah. We want our men to be around for a long time. Yeah.
There was some bit where I actually did an article where I did analogy between our 5 points and getting a car. In a car. So it was like you go and have a service every year, go to the doctors a year. You know your numbers, you know your mileage, you know how fast your car goes, you know
pressure in the tires,
the miles per gallon or kilometers per 100. You know all of that detail. You know all the stuff around the make and model of your car and how it fits in with the other siblings of the dealerships when you go there. So if you're a BMW driver, you like your BMWs, you're generally not a Mercedes driver or vice versa, but you get to know the family history. And what we found was doing that analogy, you suddenly go, well, if the car is so important to go and have a service once a year, and there's light bulb saying you need to have it, why can't you just put it in your diary as well and get checked out once a year? And that was the message of the ball. It was really, had my dad did that, had he actually went and got a checkup, he'd still be alive now. The fact that when he had high cholesterol, no one knew about it. The fact that there was no one monitoring it. And what we found is more recently with some of my friends who haven't gone to doctors, when they had a problem, they go to the hospital. The hospital got no history, no bloods, no history. So they haven't got a baseline to actually say, okay, so this is your problem now, but is it elevated? Is it not elevated? We don't know. So at least having it yearly, having a blood test and getting to have your numbers checked yearly, you can actually then, if you happen to follow a trend and if you happen to end up in hospital, the hospital will have your data there to actually know what to do.
And I think with these diseases, high BP, cholesterol, these have become more of lifestyle diseases. Even people our age, I'm 37, people younger than me, they have these issues. I'm on medication because my family has it. So it's just very, very important that you are aware of your numbers. You just can't be that, oh, I'll see when the time comes. Absolutely.
When we spoke to my doctor, so I tried to go to a regular doctor, and my doctor says, look, your cholesterol levels are creeping up, and we know that your dad had a stroke. I think you should go to a cardiologist and have a full CT scan, angiogram, and everything else. And so I went to the cardiologist, and they do the stress test. And the nurse said to me at the time, you're the fittest person we've met. It's like you're an elite athlete. And I thought, real cool. So I then went to see the cardiologist, and the first thing he said is, I'm putting you on statin. And I said, sorry? I said, your nurse just told me that I'm fit and healthy, and now you want to put me on statin? He goes, you have family history of statin. And it's 50 cents a day, it'll save your life. That's all it's going to cost you, 50 cents. And it was really interesting because now I go back and he says to me, I'm on the trifecta. I'm on aspirin, statin, and blood pressure tablets. And for Asian Indian people, you're talking about lifestyle, it's also genetics as well. And the Indian subcontinent have those three. We're all on blood pressure tablets, aspirin, and statin. We'd probably save a bit. Also, we need to change our diet. That's the other.
Oh, sure. Absolutely. Absolutely. Which is very hard, but yeah, we have to do it. Moving on, Vik, this is more of a generic question what men's health is. It's often been seen that men are less likely or hesitant to open about their health challenges, be it mental or physical. Why do you think that happens? And Bhavisha, I'll start with you first this time.
Look, another reason why we wanted to do the ball was that if I can get 200 people in a room and they're already taking part in that conversation. Now, if they say to one other person, oh, I'm going to the ball and it's about men's health, that's 400 people already. and that they can then say, oh, well, what did you discuss? What did you? So that's generating a conversation. Now, look, men are notorious. They can just, let's say, go to the pub, sit side by side, or even just like play pool. And to them, that's a great social outing, right? And they haven't discussed anything, but that's, I think men generally find it very hard to show themselves as being vulnerable. And it may be sort of, oh, I'll look less of a man or something. But this is where once we're in a space where it's fine to talk about health or so forth, I think it's just letting your guard down a little bit. It's like, you know, like, let's say, you know, people of my father's generation would never be seen crying, you know?
Yeah.
And that now we can see men of this generation quite happily, you know, shed a tear if something's sad. So I think that is just generally changing. And if we can change that, it's fine to say, hey, you know, I went to the doctors and, you know, I think I've got to have my prostate checked or whatever, you know, I think that that will really help. And it's by making an environment that's easy to talk, and be it in the workplace, you know, and that's why we really like companies to come, so that the company is focused on a men's health and there's something there. You know, it's wonderful. We've got a men's health week. I just don't think, which is in June, I just don't think enough awareness is there about it. So look, it's just generally letting your guard down and making it a comfortable environment for men to talk, really. Yeah.
I find that I saw this cartoon once where there was like two women talking about, oh, I see you had a haircut. And the other one said, yeah, do you like the colour? Yes. And how did you do it? Who did you go to? What was the stylist? What is that's this type of cut and that. And long chat around the hairdresser. And then you had two blokes. The next scene is two blokes said, you had a haircut? Yeah.
And that was their conversation.
And that's their conversation. And I think the same thing goes for health as well. When women talk, they're so used to chatting about their health and what's going on, their aches and pains, they're freely sharing. When a man has some sort of illness, they go, oh, I'm just feeling under the weather. I'm okay, I'm under the weather. And it's that dialogue and it's that opening up and to be in a safe place. I mentioned that our first ball, we had 186 people there, and it was predominantly men. And no one knew what to expect. And then subsequent years, we now have equal men and women. And that's really key because we want the conversation to be open for everybody. I found that some of our guests, they go home and in the car, the wife is saying to the husband, see, you need to go and get checked up tomorrow. See, I told you, I've been telling you this for ages.
Well, I think the wife is there to, or the partner, to just lend support in that action. And that's all it is really, is to give them the confidence and the support.
The dynamic is distributed everywhere. It's a father, daughter, brother, sister. I came home from the ball and I talked to my dad. I said, he is quite regular, but then I said, make sure you keep getting this regular test because you are at that age where we don't want any surprises to come up. So just make sure. So that conversation can happen and should happen over all relationship dynamics.
Yeah, or generations as well.
Exactly.
Absolutely. I mean, certainly, you know, when the ball, you know, they were talking about testicular cancer, which is, you know, late teens. So I think the conversation can be started at really any age group and go on to like 80s and 90s. There's no harm in it at all.
Totally agree.
Well, one of the speakers on the ball was a guy called Hugo, a very young guy, captain in the army, major in the army. He had a little lump on his testicle and he was there for some time and he never got checked out. He never thought it was an issue. It was there for 6 months and he ended up having cancer. And you listen to his story and it's really, really sad. And one of our points is, if there's some concern, go and get checked up straight away. And it's just starting that conversation now with people to say, we're not invincible. Australia in particular is a very blokey place. All right, mate, how you going? Going down the pub? You fine? Yeah, I'm fine. All good. That sort of like general, very short, sharp chatting. But when you open up a space where you go, can we have a conversation about men's health or
Yeah.
how's your health. And we do it now more regularly. I mean, we had dinner guests the other day and they were talking about their own health. And I think we spent the first hour just talking about each of our own healths. And that never happened before in a conversation. It was always about sport and it was about cricket or other activities.
Yeah.
I think even I've stayed, for whatever time I've stayed in India, the conversations are so superficial at these lunches and dinners. Oh, what are you doing? Where are the children going to school? What have you made for lunch dinner? Nobody actually wants to address the elephant in the room. And the minute you start doing that, people think you're just a party pooper that way. But these are the actual conversations we should be having. But I'll move on, Vik. I was doing some research for this conversation, right? So I chanced upon a data from Beyond Blue, and they stated that an average of 6 out of 8 suicides every single day in Australia are men. And the number of Australian men who die by suicide every year is almost double the national road toll. How can we change the situation, or how can we even attempt to change in the situation? Vik, I'll start with you this time.
I think we have things like the Men's Health Week. We have November. We have a significant amount of activity now aimed at men.
Yep.
We have the ball as well, which is aimed at men opening up. Whilst we have this blokey situation where men feel that they're Superman and they can't talk, they keep things bottled up. And anyone who keeps things bottled up, you'll know that eventually it will just explode. And it can explode in a number of different ways.
Yeah.
One is depression. And there's so much talking about depression. COVID has really brought depression out to the front.
Yeah.
You've then got your own wellness, your own physical wellness. When you get depressed, you can put on weight, you eat a lot more, you don't look after yourself, and you go into this downward spiral. And suicide. Let's talk about the other elephant in the room, suicide. People, rather than facing up to the fact, they say, I'm not manly enough, and they'd rather take their own life because that's the easy way out. And Beyond Blue does a fantastic job. We've previously supported Beyond Blue as one of the charities partners. Without them, without Lifeline.
But also there's Are You Okay?
Are you okay?
Are you okay? So again, it's just about trying to raise that, starting that conversation. And when somebody says, you know, are you okay? I think that's the opportunity to try and say, well, actually today I'm not. And in fact, I haven't been since last week because I'm worried about this scenario or this situation. I think it's worry that people can't talk about, and that's what leads to this downward spiral. You know, and recognizing that this is depression or some sort of thing that you need help. And again, it's that visit to your doctor. Your doctor will be able to tell you if you're depressed, and if you're suicidal, you will be able to get help. And that's what we really don't want people to feel, that they're so alone in this. You're not the only person who's going through this. You know, there are, at any given day, like you said, there'll be so many people in the same situation. You're not alone. And just try and open up to somebody if you're ever feeling that way. And there's somebody at the end of a phone call, you know, to be able to help you, your friend, your parents, your siblings, anybody, just to make a phone call.
There's another charity which we've also been identified as, called Gotcha for Life. The idea is that you have somebody who's got your back.
Yeah.
So that you
buddy up with
somebody. And then there's Men's Shed as well, which is a third one, where in Men's Shed, it's where men who generally have more time but not sure what to do meet up and actually do activities. So I think it's like a big scouts club. But the idea is that you're there and you can talk and you can be vulnerable, and it's a safe space. And Gotcha for Life is really, you've got a buddy who will be there. If you ever think you're going to fall, go and talk to your buddy.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. And you don't have to belong to an organisation to arrange that with your compatriots, you know. You can just say that to anybody, you know, anytime. And in fact, it'd be really lovely if somebody says, look, anytime you feel anything, you ring me, I'll answer the phone. And that you can have anywhere.
But just a tiny caveat there, Bhavish, I've also observed, this is mostly what I've observed in South Asians.
Yes.
A lot of times sympathy oversees empathy, right? If you think that that person might hear me out and you give them a call and there's a lot of, oh my God, I feel so sorry, but actually there's no empathy. So there has to be empathy more than sympathizing for an individual.
No, it's not about sympathy. I'm not, no, it's not. It's definitely not about, oh, I feel so sorry for you. It's like, what can I do?
Exactly.
Come over, let's talk this through.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Bhavisha, the next one. Yeah, sorry, Vik, go.
I was going to say, how can I help?
Yeah.
Yeah. Bhavisha, the next question is for you. As I started this conversation earlier with this, as friends, family, sister, daughter, partner, how can we help? How can the women help their men in kind of opening up more about what's going on within them, in their minds?
So look, how we, and this is just our own family, we certainly make a point every day to have dinner together.
Right.
It's the one time in the day that we sit and we make a point. We sit down at the dinner table. We don't have sit at the TV. We do, and this is where we feel that you can talk about whatever you need to. But again, in support is, look, why don't you go in late today? I can take the dog for a walk. Why don't you go in, go to the doctors or whatever it is, or in fact, even accompany the person to say, let me help you. Let's go together. Let's do it together.
Right.
And once you have that doing it together, I think that would be a great support. And like we said, from the ball, many of the wives have said, look, you need to take action on whatever it is. And look, and it can be small. And we're not just talking about major, cholesterol issues. Vik and I have just started going to the gym together because I hate going, he hates going. And now because we're booked in together, when one's down, the other will say, no, come on, let's go, know, and that way I think you can buddy up together and help each other through whatever you have. So yeah, it's just in that support.
Thanks, Vik. Vik, last words? Last
words? Where do I start? It's not.
No, you have to end.
No, I've got so many things going through my head. That we started this ball back in 2016. We thought we'd do one ball and only one ball. After that ball, somebody came up to me and said, "You saved my life." Yeah, and I said, "Sorry, you saved your life." He went out and got tested. He had high PSA. He had prostate cancer. They caught it really, really early. He had 2 young children. Saved his life. He goes, "You saved my life." Next ball we went to, we had another person who's we saved their lives.
Well, what happened with that one was we in the gift bags that we have, we gave out a bowel cancer kit. So look, out of 250 people, 10 people did the test. Out of those 10 people that did the test, 4 people came back with, you need to have a second test. That was interesting. Out of that, 3 of those were false positives, so they weren't really. But 1 person, we saved that 1 person, got detected early. So look, out of 250 people, we saved 1 person. We're really chuffed about that, and each time we're having that impact. So we feel really proud that this is what we're doing. And if we can help 1 person, we're ecstatic in the crowd. But hopefully that's going to generate, and more people. Sorry, Vik.
Yeah, so no, that's fine. That's great, because that was in 16, then we did it in 17. Then after that, we did it every other year in Sydney. So it's gone 17, 19, 21, 23, 25. And it was after we did the 23 ball that one of the charities we were supporting, called Healthy Male, said, "Why is this ball not down in Melbourne?" And we said, "Good point." So we said, "We'll take it down to Melbourne in 24. So now we've got 20. The even years, hopefully, will be in Melbourne, and the odd years will be in Sydney. Our aspirations is there'll be a ball in every city every year, but small steps, baby steps. But in terms of if you last messages for your audience, those who are listening, I'd just say take small steps, do little things to make a difference. If it means going for a walk because you have a sedentary a desk job like mine, where you're sitting in front of a computer all day, take time to walk for a little while, make sure you make small dietary changes. We're not saying give up the pizzas and give up the big long lunches once in a while. But when the days you're not doing that, do something else, like have a salad or have a smaller portion and look after yourself. And then simple steps, go to your doctor once a year. Just put it in your diary, go to the doctor. And the other thing which some of my friends or other doctors are saying is, make sure you actually feel yourself. Like women have been told how to check their body, just feel your own body and look for new lumps and bumps and that. And if you see something or you feel something that doesn't feel right, go and see your doctor. And lastly, family history. If you do not know your family history, and it needs to go back a couple of generations as well if you can, we found that a generation above had an issue, and then our generation, it missed it, and then the next generation got the same issue. And things can miss a generation. So knowing a generation to above, that can actually diagnose some problems, and we've found that with our own families.
Yeah. So look, yeah, that's it. Just support each other, you know, and yeah, and talk, you know, and talk to each other, talk to your friends, talk to your family, just talk about health, and you live a happier, healthier, longer life.
Fingers crossed, and amen. That one. Thanks, Bhavisha. Finally, before I wrap up the conversation, if anyone wants to reach out to you just for a conversation or even for the ball next year, where can they find you on social media?
Okay, so we're only on one social media platform currently, which is on Facebook, and it's Men's Health Awareness Ball. We do have a website called menshealthawarenessball.com,
right?
All one word. And in that website, on that website, there is contact details for both myself and Bhavisha, and you can just reach out to us, and we'll happily start a conversation and talk to you about the 2025 ball in Sydney here in June 25, talk about the 26 ball down in Melbourne, and even the Adelaide ball, should that take off as well. I think the idea, I mentioned earlier on that we were raising funds. Funds were the secondary, we had a committee when we first started, which talked about what's the aim of the ball? Right. Is it to actually raise awareness, or is it to raise funds? So it was an interesting push-pull situation, because some people say, no, it's about awareness. Others say, no, it's about raising funds as well. And we actually said the raising funds is a secondary cause. It's the awareness which comes out first. But one of the things which I was saying to Bhavisha, one of our goals would be by year 10 or ball number 10, we'd raise $1 million. So, and we've touched so many people in the process.
But find us, on Facebook.
Find us on Facebook. Find us on Facebook. Find us on the website, menshealthawarenessball.com. Otherwise, if you go into LinkedIn, you can get us on LinkedIn by our names, Vik Bhandari and Bhavisha Bhandari.
Thank you both, and it was, I think, an extreme honor that I found you. So I hope this stays productive for years to come. And to my listeners, well, this was a very heavy conversation with some trigger warning. We spoke of suicide and depression. So if any part of the conversation kind of affects you mentally, please take some time out, step out of the conversation and do what you need to do. If you need help, you can always touch Beyond Blue Orange Door, and I'll be putting all the contact details in the link below the video conversation. And if you've got any thoughts or feedback, please reach out to either Vik or Bhavisha or to myself. I will get you connected to these amazing people. On that note, Bhavisha and Vik, thank you so much. I know this was a busy Thursday evening. Thank you so much for being here with me.
Thank you
very much.
Okay, bye.